So as of earlier this month, March 2025, I have officially been fully self-employed for the last 10 years. That's 10 years of not having a boss, 10 years of not being told what to do or how or when to do it, and most importantly, 10 years of not having to wake up to an alarm clock, because goddamn do I hate mornings. The life that I've built over the last 10 years has given me a level of freedom and flexibility that I've always wanted, that I always hoped I would have. And it shouldn't be a novelty, but unfortunately in our current world, it is. But it allows me to do things like this. Like, it's a random Monday afternoon and I'm just out going for a walk with Levi. There's Levi. Just enjoying the spring weather, or at least the almost spring weather. It's a little cold still. But I have no schedule, no agenda that I have to stick to. Today I can kind of just do whatever I want. I think the internet has this weird tendency to kind of glamorize entrepreneurship and the grind, to almost make it seem like some weird form of macho suffering Olympics, where the harder you make your own life, the more misery you endure, the harder you hustle, the harder you grind, the more you burn yourself out, the better and more deserved your eventual success will be. And quite honestly, for a long time, I believed it. I hustled, I ground. I worked myself to a point of physical sickness at times, all believing that it was a necessary part of the game. But 10 years later, now I've kind of come to realize that, frankly, it's bullshit. In fact, as counterintuitive as this might sound, I've found time and time again that the biggest increases to my income, my productivity, and honestly just my overall happiness have come from deliberate decisions to stop working so hard and to instead just simplify whatever it is I'm trying to do. Oh, it's still pretty cold out. To give you a bit of background, I went from working about 35 or 40 hours a week at a regular job to just a few years later working 50 to 60 hours a week for myself. And people will tell you like, oh, it's different when you work for yourself, and it kind of is, but it still really sucks. After a while, I started to realize that I was taking all the worst parts of a 9-to-5 and forcing them onto myself tenfold, because I thought it's what you're supposed to do. That meant forcing myself to work at least 8 hours a day, if not 10 or more hours. It meant never taking a day off unless I was so sick I was bedridden. Never canceling or rescheduling on anybody in fear of mildly inconveniencing them and coming across as unprofessional, whatever that's supposed to mean. Somehow, I'd become the worst boss I ever had. Like, I would never want to work for somebody who treated me the way that I was treating myself. And I'll never forget this. It all hit me one day when I was standing in Walmart of all places. I was standing in line at the checkout, and I found myself feeling jealous of the cashier, which I know sounds really weird, but this girl was working there who was probably only a few years younger than I was, and I was watching her kind of absent-mindedly ring people's groceries through, and she looked like she was so bored she was about to die. She clearly didn't want to be there. She clearly didn't care about her job. And I was so jealous of her being able to be like that, being able to have this job where she could be so mentally checked out and where she could not care. Like, I knew that in a few hours she was going to punch out and go home and probably not think about her job at all for the rest of the evening, and I couldn't remember the last time I felt that way. You know you got it bad when you find yourself feeling jealous of a Walmart cashier. But really, it was the wake-up call I needed, because that was when I realized that I had completely lost sight of the vision and I needed to make some major changes. We've all heard the phrase, work smarter, not harder, but it was when I really took that to heart that everything started to change. In the span of about 5 years, I was able to double my income not once, but twice, while working fewer hours than I ever have before. And I want to share some of the steps I've taken to make this possible. The first step was decoupling the ideas of hard work and good work, because it turns out that they are two completely different things. And it turns out that you can do really good work without completely burning yourself out. Crazy, right? The quality and value of your work is not at all determined by the number of hours you input each day or each week, and definitely not by the amount of stress you endure. This really sunk in for me when I watched a video on a YouTube channel called The Future, which I will leave a link to down below. But essentially this guy was talking about how he prices his logo design services. And he posed this question along the lines of, if designer A charges $100 an hour and takes 20 hours to produce a good logo, that's $2,000. But if designer B can produce an equal or possibly even a better logo in 10 hours, should they only charge half as much? Should they be financially penalized for being better and more efficient at their job? Should somebody have to work twice as much to earn an equal income to somebody who is less skilled than they are? It kind of blew my mind. I had never really thought about it that way, but it was really the perspective change I needed to start focusing on quality versus quantity, or really on output versus input. I started asking myself how I could become more valuable. In most traditional jobs, whether you're paid hourly or you're on a salary, your income is directly tied to the number of hours you work, not the quality of the work that you do. So even if you were amazing at your job, and let's say you could get all your work done by lunchtime, you can't just leave. Or, if you did, you wouldn't be paid. So really, there's no incentive to become really good at your job, because if you are a more efficient employee, you'll just be given more work to do without any extra pay. Comment below if that's ever happened to you. By far, the biggest perk of working for yourself, and the reason that I think that it's something that everybody should try at some point, whether that's for just a side hustle or even as a full-time gig, is that the better and more skilled you are at whatever it is you do, and the more value you can provide, the more you can charge for your time and expertise. And obviously, the more you can charge, the less hours you have to work. Good work is a virtue. Hard work is not. Think about something like a haircut. You could go to Supercuts down the road and get a $7 haircut. Or you could go to a fancy boutique and get a $300 haircut. And really, both of those people are hairdressers, but one is a lot more skilled and has a lot more value to offer and can therefore charge a lot more for their service and for their time, and then they can choose to either make way more money or work a lot less hours or some combination of both. Next, I want to talk about passive income streams. As I've said in the past, I don't really believe that there's truly such a thing as passive income. Nobody's going to pay you to do absolutely nothing, unfortunately. The closest you can get is probably investing, but then even still, you have to first work to earn money to invest. But really, I think that that's kind of how all passive income works. It's where you put in a lot of time and energy up front to build something that can then hopefully more or less sustain itself with very little work from you in the long run. So of course, that can be traditional investing, like in the stock market, or it can be doing something like building an e-commerce store or some other online business that's mostly hands-off after the initial setup. It can mean selling a course or an ebook or some other digital product that you make once and can then sell indefinitely forever. And in a way, that's kind of what I'm doing here on this channel by building up a library of content. Like, it takes me a lot of time to make these videos, but then once I post them, they exist forever as a perpetual revenue stream. And whether you're building your personal brand or an e-commerce store or really any other kind of business, of course, having a website is step number one. And now we have platforms like today's sponsor, Hostinger, who makes it incredibly easy for anybody to build a website in literally just a few minutes, even if, like me, you have no idea what you're doing. Let me show you how easy it is. Okay, so to get started, you're gonna head over to hostinger.com/Nicole, or just click the link in the description box down below. You can see that they have a massive sale going on right now. They're 75% off their website builder. I'm gonna go with the business website builder because it's only $3.99 a month and you get so many features. So you get a free domain, you get 50 mailboxes, and most importantly, you get all of these amazing AI tools which are gonna help to build your website for you. When you sign up, you can actually use my coupon code, which is Nicole, and you're gonna get another 10% off. So instead of $3.99 a month, it comes down to just $3.59 a month for all those features, which is crazy. So now all I have to do is tell the AI what my business is called and give a brief description of what kind of website I want, what kind of services I offer. So I wrote, I teach private guitar lessons across the Greater Toronto Area and offer an online guitar course to people worldwide. Please make me a website that advertises my local business and has an e-commerce section to sell my course. I'm gonna hit create website. And here I have a beautiful professional website to advertise my guitar business. There's lessons, there's the e-commerce section, there's a contact us section, and all of this would only cost me like $3 and change per month, which is pretty insane. So if you need a website for your business, Hostinger is the place to go. Head over to hostinger.com/Nicole or click the link in the description box down below and make sure you use the code Nicole for an extra 10% off. I really think that education in particular lends itself very, very well to this passive income business model because pretty much everybody has some sort of skill, something that they're good at that they can teach other people. That can be music lessons, that can be language classes, that can be bookkeeping or sewing or cooking or really anything else that you're good at. And again, you can do it over various formats. You can do it on YouTube or TikTok, or you can sell a course, or you can offer one-on-one consulting and coaching, and all of that can be really profitable. I took a pottery class this past winter, and the instructor mentioned that she has a YouTube channel where she also teaches how to do basic pottery things. So she earns money as an artist from making and selling her creations, but also from teaching other people how to do what she does, both online and in person. And the funniest part was I asked her where she learned to do pottery, and guess what she said? On YouTube. So she learned this skill and then realized that she can provide a lot of value to other people who also want to learn it, and she can charge a lot for that. I am calling it right now. Education is the #1 side hustle of all time. As Jack Black says in School of Rock,
those that can't do, teach. And those that can't teach, teach gym.
You guys want to see my shitty creations? So all of these are supposed to be mugs or bowls, and I'm not sure which one is even which. I don't know what that is. That's too small to be anything, and I missed a spot while I was glazing it. The handle broke off of this one. The bottom broke out in that one. This one looks okay. Oh, no, look, there's fingerprints where I missed the glaze. Something else that I started to realize over time was that I was being way too much of a perfectionist and a control freak. I've always believed that if you want something done right, you should do it yourself, but that can definitely be taken to an extreme point, and at a certain point, it just becomes prohibitive to your growth. No joke, but apparently one of the very first phrases I ever learned to say as a baby was, I can do it myself. I can do it myself. I was very stubborn back then, and some things never change. Pareto's principle, or the 80-20 rule, states that 80% of your results often come from 20% of your efforts, which means that if you are fixating on the 80% that doesn't really lead to results, all you're really doing is wasting your time and stressing yourself out. And ultimately, that's how you get into that kind of imbalanced sense of input versus output that I was talking about before. So I started looking for ways that I could automate some of the more mundane parts of my work. And I think this is something you can do whether you work for yourself or for someone else. With this channel, for example, I used to spend 5 to 6 hours cutting down the raw footage and removing all the rambling and mistakes. Fun fact, I know a lot of you guys leave comments saying that I'm so well-spoken and articulate, and I really genuinely appreciate it, but I'm actually terrible at talking to a camera. And each of these 10 to 20 minute videos that I make starts as an hour plus of footage of me tripping over my words and losing track of my thoughts and trying over and over again to say exactly what I want to say in the exact way that I want to say it, which is probably me being too much of a perfectionist again, but that's just the truth. But yeah, it used to take me a really long time to manually edit down all of the footage until I found that there's an AI tool that can do it for me in like 10 minutes. So now I spend maybe 3 to 4 hours editing each video instead of 8 to 10. There are also apps and AI tools that can automatically compile notes from your meeting, better organize your calendar, respond to emails on your behalf, correct your spelling and grammar, and all sorts of other crazy things. So if there's a part of your job that you find to be particularly tedious, Google it and see if there's a tool that exists that can do it for you, because chances are there's an app for that. And if there is, you should use it and take back your time. Next, let's talk about leveraging environments. Environment can make a huge difference in the perceived value of a product or service you're trying to sell, including yourself when you're looking for a job. I'll give you an example. If you went to the grocery store, you could buy a case of 12 bottles of water just like this for about $2, which works out to around 17 cents per bottle. But if you were at the mall and you wanted to buy this exact bottle of water from a vending machine, it would cost you $3. And if you were at a music festival, it would cost you probably like $8 to $10. Now the water bottle hasn't changed at all from one situation to the next, but the environment has. The value that something's perceived to have and what someone's willing to pay for it changes dramatically based on many factors, including location, budget, priority, and availability. Like as someone who owns a car and likes to cook and values saving money, a service like DoorDash is basically worthless to me. I would not spend $30 to have a burrito delivered to my front door. But to someone who doesn't drive or hates cooking or is stuck in a work meeting or sick at home or whatever, DoorDash might be totally worth it to them. And this is especially true for somebody who maybe just makes a lot of money and values that convenience above all else. One of the easiest ways to make more money without actually working more is to be strategic about who you're targeting as your customers. Let's say, for example, you own a landscaping business. You can charge significantly more for your services if you target a more affluent neighborhood where the people not only have more disposable income and are more likely to hire you in the first place, but can also afford to pay higher prices for your services. A $2,500 summer lawn care package would be a pretty hard sell in a lower middle class neighborhood, but it's an easy yes to a high income household. You'll make the same amount of money servicing 10 homes at $2,500 each as you would servicing 25 homes at $1,000 each, and I know which one I'd rather do. If you work as a remote employee, consider the fact that you can apply for jobs in higher cost of living areas than where you live. Like a California salary on an Ohio lifestyle sounds pretty sweet to me. Even if you just work as a server, you can make a lot more money at a restaurant in a more expensive area where people are going to eat out more often, they're going to order more food when they do, and they're going to tip more generously. If you gotta work, you might as well go where the money is. And finally, let's talk about outsourcing. This kind of goes back a little bit to the 80-20 rule that we talked about before, but for the things that you can't automate, outsourcing the dull 80% can really allow you to hone in on the 20% that actually matters. I've always said that if I had one of those like remote work from home desk jobs, I'd apply for 2 or 3 more of them. I'd get like 4 jobs and then just hire students to do the job for me and split the salary 50-50 with them. So I could basically have multiple salaries without actually working. For real though, outsourcing and hiring help is pretty obvious when you're self-employed. Like theoretically, I could hire scriptwriters and video editors and all sorts of people who could help me make these videos faster with less input on my end. But even if you're an employee at a company, you can outsource certain aspects of your personal responsibilities that eat up a lot of your time and energy, which would not only give you more downtime, but can also give you the opportunity to level up your skills and find yourself a job that pays more and gives you a better work-life balance. I used to come home from working like 50+ hours a week, and then I would spend my weekends cooking and cleaning and grocery shopping and doing laundry and doing yard work and making Levi's food, which by the way is like my least favorite job in the entire world. It got to a point where it kind of felt like that's all I was doing. I was working and I was doing house stuff and that was it. In retrospect, I would have been much better off outsourcing 1 or 2 of those things, even if it cost me a little bit more money up front, because then I could have used that time to restructure my business or to take more courses and level up my skills in a way that would allow me to make more money. And eventually, that's exactly what I did. It's so weird because our society has such a fixation with hard work and thinks that it's such a virtuous thing. Saying that you're busy as a response to somebody asking how you are is seen as a good thing. Like, hey, how are you? How's it going? How are things? Oh, good, good, good. They're busy. And it's such a commendable thing. If you tell somebody you work 80 hours a week, they respond in a respectful way. Like they respect the fact that you're doing that. They think it's a good thing, but it's not, or it shouldn't be. Like seriously, if you work 80 hours a week, you're either terrible at time management or you have an absolutely awful job. And either way, you should fix that. Anyways, these are just some things that I've picked up over the last 10 years or so that I think have really helped me and have really made my life better and really helped me to get that work-life balance that I've always craved and always wanted. And hopefully some of these things can help you guys as well. Again, whether you're self-employed, whether you work for a company, whether you're building a side hustle, whatever it is you're doing. Leave me a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video at all, please go ahead and hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. You can follow me on Instagram at according_to_Nicole. Other than that, thank you guys so much as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.